Welcome, everybody, to our new Synergy powered by Regenrus. We are so excited to bring you this new call series and can't wait to share more and more information in the coming weeks of Regenrus and the movement that we're doing forward as a vision for humanity and just a vision for the good of the whole. So I am so excited you're on the call tonight with us. I can't wait for you to hear this amazing information from our guest speaker tonight, Dee Matchett, an expert bone health. She taught me so much in the last 3 years how I can do better to take care of my health and especially how important our bones are. So I'm going to turn it over to our fabulous host, Brian Mariani, that you met, who is bringing forth Regenrus together with us to the world. So Brian, take it away.
Well, thank you, Cindy, and thank you for your great vision that has made this all possible. And welcome everybody to our Synergy call powered by Regenrus. We are just delighted and excited to be connecting, collaborating, and creating with all of you this amazing vision that we have with Regenrus to touch and impact lives all around the world. So if you're with us live, if you're with us watching the recording, we just want to send our deep gratitude to you. So thank you for being here. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce our featured speaker this evening. Her name is Dee Matchett, and she is an exceptional educator. Her career has really been in education for 30, 40 years, an incredible career in education, and always a tremendous focus around health. What I really admire about Dee is that she takes a very scientific approach to everything that she does. And especially when it comes to health, what you'll see tonight is that Dee is going to be able to explain some really complicated scientific things in terms that all of us can digest and understand. Dee is also the owner of OsteoStrong Farragut. So she has really dedicated her life to people and to health. So I just want to say up front that this is an educational call. None of the statements here tonight are here to say that they mitigate, cause, prevent, or cure any kind of illness whatsoever. Also, anything that Dee says is not subject to the work and partnership that she has with OsteoStrong. Dee is here as a representative and an educator from her own personal background. So again, we just want to thank you all for being with us this evening. And we're delighted that we have Dee Matchett to speak about bone health and how the Regenrus products can really help in that area. So Dee, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Great. So I'm excited to be here. I love presentation. I love educating because I learned so much, and it's great to share that. And I learned some new things putting this together tonight and can't wait to just, let y'all enjoy that as well. So this is just a little overview. We're going to talk about CBD and bone health and go into the fact that it suppresses the resorption of bone cells, stimulates new bone cell production, and helps broken bones heal faster. So most of y'all are very familiar with the whole endocannabinoid system, but I want to just kind of review a little bit, especially for those who might watch this later who aren't as familiar. So I want to look at the cannabis family versus hemp versus marijuana. So the term cannabis includes all of the plant family, all of the various species in that family, which includes hemp and marijuana. So hemp is one variety of cannabis that's tall and it has low levels of THC, which we will talk about what that is. And marijuana is a different variety of cannabis that has high levels of THC. So even though hemp contains low levels of THC, it also contains high levels of other beneficial cannabinoids like CBD, which that's the cannabinoid CBD is what that stands for, okay? So I just want you to understand that there's a big difference between hemp and marijuana. And so CBD is a I always have to work on my pronunciation with this, cannabidiol, and THC is tetrahydrocannabidiol. And there's a big difference between the two. So you can go to the next slide. So both plants contain both CBD and THC, but in different amounts. So hemp contains high levels of CBD that is non-psychoactive. Marijuana contains a high level of THC, which is psychoactive. So we're going to clear up some misunderstandings. I have people all the time, like this week I handed, you know, the Regen information to a new lady at my business, and she was like, well, I'll have to think about that. Because they have this little, oh, it's associated with marijuana. And so there's this education that has to take place to let people know this is very different than marijuana. So hemp contains 0.3% of we're just going to call it THC because it's so much easier to say. And by law, CBD oils or hemp oils cannot contain more than that amount. So you can tell me this, has this changed, Cindy? Because am I right that currently hemp is not regulated by the FDA?
Correct. Yeah, they're still working on the practices. There's a hemp council that's working together. They recognize very, very strongly the benefits of hemp and CBD, and they've actually made prescription medications out of them based upon isolates. But at this point, they're still working on the regulatory side of it.
Okay. So because that's an unregulated product, it is a buyer beware issue out there. And we'll talk about that a little bit more too. So I want to talk about sources. There can be sources from the cannabis plants themselves, and those are specific compounds found within those plants, cannabinoids found within those plants. And then there are phytocannabinoids that are in a variety of plants out there. So there are other plants besides hemp, besides marijuana, that contain cannabinoids that are naturally occurring. It's just that they don't occur in very large amounts, which is why we tend to source from the hemp, because it has so much more of the cannabinoid in it. And then there are endocannabinoids that your own body makes. So your body, isn't this neat that your body already does this itself? Okay, it makes these cannabinoids. There are receptors for them in your body. It's a very normal and natural thing for your body to create these endocannabinoids. And then there's what Cindy was talking about, the synthetic ones, where they have isolated the THC from the rest of the plant and create a pharmaceutical synthesized compound. Okay, so that has lots of side effects because they've taken away all of the things that balance it back out again. All right, so we're of course talking about the ones that are derived from the hemp plant. And it's, most people say it's better to use a full spectrum oil because of the synergistic effect of all the various cannabinoids that are in there, all of the terpenes that are in there, the other botanical compounds. You know, nature tends to know how to balance things out and how to make it work synergistically. So this is the preferred way, would be this full spectrum oil. So it was only a few years ago. I mean, to me, 1992 is not that long ago. It may be to some of you, but to me, that's not very long ago, that we even discovered that the body has an endocannabinoid system. So the last time I did a presentation for Regenrus, I said, you know, there's going to be a whole lot more research coming out because research was restricted by the FDA since marijuana was an illegal substance. That was, there was only 2 institutes in all of the United States that were allowed to do research, and it all was under the control of the FDA. But now that restriction has been removed, and there's lots of research taking place about the endocannabinoid system. So it's a system just like your reproductive system or your nervous system or your digestive system. You know, it's a system in the body. So here's all these various systems, your endocrine system, the sensory system, you know, all of these various systems. The endocannabinoid system is like the conductor. It tells all the other systems what they're supposed to be doing. and it regulates, says, okay, we need more of this action over here. Or we, like a conductor does when they, tell one section of the orchestra to get louder or to get softer. This is what the endocannabinoid system does. It functions to bring balance, or what we call homeostasis, to all the other systems. All right, so I want you to look at this. This is the endocannabinoid receptors in the body. So when these cannabinoids go out all through your cells, they're looking for these different things. And there are two types that we know of. One is called CB1 and the other is CB2. So CB1 receptors are in the blue, and you can see they're scattered throughout the body, but they cluster in the brain. Can you see that? And so they have more control with the motor activity, with your thinking, with motor coordination, some with appetite, your short-term memory, pain perception, and your immune cells, okay? And then you can see these pink ones. Those are the CB2 receptors. They're scattered throughout the body too, but you can see where they concentrate. There's a lot of concentration in your digestive system there, kidneys, pancreas, your gut, bones. They're actually everywhere. They have there's lots of CB2 receptors. We think there's another one called CB3, and that would be, they're numbered just because this is the order in which we have been discovering them, okay? CB3 is a molecule that has appeared in the body as a response to bone disease. They think it is another receptor. There's more research going on. As time goes on, we may find many, many of these. We just don't know about very many of them yet. But that's going to be very interesting as that study continues. So CBD from hemp. Remember those CB1 receptors that were primarily brain and motor skills and all that? Those, the THC, which is the psychoactive one, those attach mostly to CB1 receptors. So you can see why that would affect your thinking, your emotions, and your whole mental process. The CBD oil from the hemp that we're using here, it mostly responds to those CB2 receptors, which are the ones that are throughout the body, mostly the immune system, and they use the endocannabinoids that are produced naturally. When we introduce other cannabinoids from, say, hemp oil, then that just helps the body produce more of those endocannabinoids that it naturally would. So one thing you need to know about the hemp plant is that it's what's called a bioaccumulator, because hemp can pick up good things, but can also pick up bad things from the air and the water and the soil. And that's why this is very much a buyer beware market that's out there. You need to know what you're buying. This company called Ellipse Analytics examined over 240 different CBD oils that were out there. 70% of them were contaminated. 70% of them had heavy metals, chemical pesticides, toxic molds, and other dangerous impurities. So this is one thing I really appreciated about Regenrus was their commitment to quality. Because I already knew that some of these wonderful benefits that we're going to go into with CBD, I was looking for a pure product that was out there. And so Regenrus was really wonderful to come across. One thing you need to know is that overseas sources have high contaminants, especially from China and the EU. So you need to look for products that are grown, harvested, produced, designed, and bottled in the United States. I know that Cindy has personally visited, I know most, if not, or is it all, of the various places that you source from?
I try to visit all. You're exactly right.
And so she has firsthand knowledge of those things that are grown organically the way they should be. And that's what we're going to talk about here on the next slide. Yes, you need to look for things that are for an organic source, because then you know, that's sorry. Okay. You're minimizing the air pollution, the water pollution, the other toxic chemicals, greatly reducing those. And then you're in-house testing for those as well, right?
Yes, so we actually have the in-house, their CGMP means they are FDA regulated, certified GMP practices. So they have to, FDA inspects them and they have to follow all the strict guidelines. And they have a, they required by law, CGMP, to go to a third party QA, and that's our manufacturer. So our manufacturer gets the raw ingredients and produces them, does their in-house quality, then they go to an outside quality. And we actually partnered with an amazing woman on our board that founded the Analytical Food Labs, and we had a second third party QA testing on validity, on what's in the label, quality of the ingredients in there, and that they're the exact amount that we need. So we truly take quality seriously.
Yes, yes, which is one of the things I really appreciate about Regenrus. All right, so you will see less expensive CBD oils on the market. However, they have not all been third-party quality tested like what Regenrus is doing. So you always want to check for that. And Regenrus is very open. You have all of your information on the, what do they call those, the sheets on
the C of A certification of,
all
yeah,
certification
analysis.
is there. It's open access. You know what kind of quality you're getting. Okay, so some of these that are a bargain are actually diluted. They add other oils in there and dilute the product down. So they can say it has CBD in it, and it does, but it's been diluted, which is why you're getting an inferior product that may look cheaper, but in the long run, it's not giving you the results you want. And you also want a full spectrum product, which Regenrus is, so you can get all those wonderful synergistic effects. Okay, the extraction process. Even if you have a great organic oil, CBD oil, or plant, if you extract it with solvents, you're going to come up with an inferior product. So there's CO2 extraction, olive oil extraction, and various solvent type extractions. Regenrus uses vapor distillation, which then condenses the product so that you get this really terpene rich full spectrum product. Cindy can probably address that better than me, but it is the best way to extract and have a quality oil from out of your plant.
So it is using steam or water. So we're not using toxic chemicals to extract the oil from the plant. So very good, Dee.
Yeah, no toxic chemical. The solvents, I don't know if people understand what a solvent is, but it introduces toxins in there that you don't want to do. Okay,
right, they have CO2 and ethanol is some of the typical ones that are out there that are actually even cleaner than what the other people are doing, but we chose vapor distill.
Those are cheap ways to extract, but you also get a cheapened product as a result. And I just really appreciate Regenrus going that extra mile to use an extraction process that maintains the quality of the product. All right, so we want to look at absorption rates. So there are different ways that CBD is available. It's available as a pill or a powder or an oil. And so when that's ingested, it has to go through the digestive system, through the liver, through the kidneys, all of that. You're actually only getting about a 6 to 15% absorption rate, which is not very much. So then you have to take a lot more of the product in order to get the same amount of absorption that you need. And then there are sublingual oils out there. You're supposed to hold them under your tongue for 30 to 60 seconds, and that increases the absorption rate. You'll get 20 to 35% absorption rate. But when you take a sublingual and you add a liposomal delivery system to it, which is what Regenrus does, then it is almost equivalent to taking it intravenously. So it goes right into the bloodstream. You still need to hold it for that 30 to 60 seconds, but you get a tremendous increase in the absorption rate. And this is a chart that shows you that. So this bottom little line there, little curve, is with a powder, and the higher one is with the liposomes. So it just gives us really enhanced delivery. And then you can take a lesser amount to get that kind of absorption rate. Doesn't take as much of the product to get that. So here's the exciting part about bone health. Your bones have cannabinoid receptors in them, and they have a role in reducing osteoclasts, which tear bone down and take it away, and they have a role in increasing osteoblasts, which build the bone up and make it more dense. So both of these things are actually good in your body. An osteoclast should be taking old bone away. That is their role, is what they're intended to do. It's just that sometimes this gets out of balance and you have more osteoclasts producing then osteoblasts, and then you've got more bone loss and you have more than gain. So cannabinoids are great at, again, bringing homeostasis or bringing balance into that process where the bone maintains its density. So there is a terpene in hemp oil called transcaryophyllene. We're going to call it TC. So this is from a study done in 2017, very recent then, in which they looked at how TC, what it does in the body. So they found that there was a significant elevation in collagen. Collagen, your body builds bone by laying down a collagen matrix and then adding minerals to that matrix to harden it into bone. So it's like the precursor. It's like the first step in building bone. They also found an increase in alkaline phosphatase activity. Those are produced as a byproduct of increased osteoblast activity. So when you see that, you know bone is building. And then there was increased osteocalcin production as well. Osteocalcin is like what cements the calcium down into the bone. And more mineralization, more minerals were being deposited into the bone. So all four of these things are markers that we use to see how osteoblasts are differentiating. And so this transcaryophyllene then was preventing dysfunction in that process so that you got the optimum of building osteoblasts in the body, or optimal activity with that. This study was done in 2015, and what they found was that CBD alone, without the THC, it works with it too, but in other words, they were trying to see, do we have to use marijuana or can we use hemp? Because we don't want to use the THC if we don't have to. So they ran this test using both, and what they found was they got results without the THC. They got it with it, but they also got it without it, which means it wasn't a necessary part of the process. And they found that it made bones stronger during healing. It enhanced that collagen matrix. And they also found that it made the bone harder, so that it was more difficult to break in the future because it so created the increased density. They measured this with an infrared spectroscopy that confirmed what we call collagen crosslinks. So when you fracture a bone, there's a gap, and these little collagen crosslinks are formed. And then the osteoblasts come in and lay down the osteocalcin and build the bone around it. So they could observe that with this spectroscopy. And they saw that what was happening was that the CBD enhanced osteoblastic expression of lysol hydroxylase 1. The easy way to say that is it helped use your, you know what L-lysine is? It's just an amino acid. It's a protein basically. So it just helped your body use that and create more collagen enzymes to make all this process better. So lysine is a very common amino acid that your body uses in many different ways, and it just helped the body use that better. So because this was a very safe way, CBD is harmless, that they knew that then it could improve human fracture healing. They're going to do more study on that. The interesting part about this, we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, so when you've got a fracture, you've got a large gap to close. This same process happens all the time. It's called the bone remodeling. So your little osteoclasts go in and they make a little tunnel and they tear out. You can see on the screen there, the osteoclasts. They head the way. They're creating a little tunnel and eating up all the bad old bone, okay? And then behind it come the osteoblasts, and they're like a zipper. They just start creating new bone and zipping that little thing that holds shut again. This is like on a microscopic level happening all the time. So if they found that it can heal a large fracture faster and better, then it for sure is going to help with this little small process. You know, in other words, the same application would apply on this daily level that your body's going through all the time. So this whole little bone remodeling process takes about 6 weeks. About 6 months. And it's always in process all the time. Now we have to talk about the products themselves. So we've already seen what CBD can do. That's research that's just out there. But we're going to look at why Regen and Renew are even more beneficial for this process, just because of the ingredients that they have, the quality of the product. Both of these products have a liposomal delivery, which means that we are getting that high absorption rate. So they actually merge right into your cell membranes to deliver the product. And this, again, makes the absorption rate of those very powerful and potent ingredients in Regen and Rest, get there to do the job they're intended to do. And I'm really appreciative of Regen because instead of using what I would consider inferior soy lecithin that many products use to create this liposomal delivery, Regenrus uses a much higher quality sunflower lecithin. And again, this is the better path to take in creating a liposomal delivery. And they obtain it by cold pressing. Sunflower is cold pressed lecithin without the use of chemicals. Again, it's non-GMO, does not contain phytoestrogens that soy lecithin does, and has a very neutral taste. So again, this is the superior way to make a liposomal delivery in a product. Of course, we've already talked about Regen as a hemp oil and all the helpful compounds and terpenes that are preserved in the process they use to create it. And then they also, so that's great for itself alone with bones, okay? But here's some other great stuff too, is the Regenulo, which is a proprietary blend. You want to address that a little bit, Cindy? Because I know you had a large part in making that happen.
Yes, so on the aloe side of this, it's different than the full spectrum hemp. In this case, this studies and work and has been going on since back in the 1980s and even further back on aloe and healing our bodies. We all know aloe by Mother Nature is an incredible plant. So, however, during those studies, they did discover when you take a fresh aloe, you break the plant. Anyone that's ever done that and put it on a burn or a cut, you'll notice it starts to brown and shrivel. So the scientists and researchers, doctors that I've known for 30 years now, they worked on harvesting the aloe and extracting the highest level of immune modulation. So I want everybody to understand modulation, because what modulation is if you have an overactive immune system or an underactive immune system, it's all about bringing the immune system into balance. So your body's not fighting itself in either of those cases. Mm-hmm. So there's a very specific part of the gel that you see in the center of that image that they take a very small portion of it that is scientifically proven in so many studies to help in so many different challenges and diseases that people deal with. So this is an amazing aloe, and I have been on this aloe since the 1990s, and it changed my life forever. And it has only been increased in the last 20 years since they did the first studies of the very first aloe I took that changed my life. So we have the very best out there, and we all know how important our immune system is and functioning and cooperating with the rest of the system. And majority of our immune system is in the gut and the digestion. So this is a very, very potent aloe that you're not going to see on the market when you just see aloe. And it is also in our skincare line.
And we're going to talk about why that's beneficial as well. And then ginger extract is a great antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, and we're going to talk about that some more too. I'm not sure if it's that, I should have just said anti-inflammatory with that. But then why is this particular blend really great for bones? Well, we already talked about the transcaryophyllene that stimulates bone growth. But the aloe is amazing too. It soothes the digestive tract. Some people's bone loss is related to poor mineral absorption. And so they're not getting out of their food what they need for the body to create bone. So this is so healing to that digestive tract. It promotes vitamin and mineral absorption by a lot, okay? So this was research done in 2005. It showed a 2,000% increase in the blood levels of nutrients that were studied when aloe was ingested with their supplement. So I would recommend that people take whatever mineral they're taking, mineral supplementation, vitamin supplementation, take it with your Regen, because that aloe in there will help you absorb even more of those things. And also vitamin C is essential for the production of collagen. Remember, we talked about collagen being that foundation that is laid to build bone with. So with if you're absorbing more of the vitamin C with this, with the aloe, then you're going to be able to help your body build bone. Let's go back to that again. Okay, and then the ginger as an anti-inflammatory. A lot of people, this is another reason people lose bone. If you have inflammation in an area, it sets up a very acidic environment, and your body will go to the bone to get alkaline minerals and help balance that back out again, which means you get bone loss in the area around the inflammation. So if we can deal with inflammation, it helps remove that barrier to the bone rebuilding itself. So inflammation interferes with bone repair and remodeling. Inflammation markers are specifically related to an increase in fracture by over 250%. So when someone has inflammation, that area is more apt to fracture. So this adding ginger then as an anti-inflammatory is a key part of why I personally love Regen as a supplement for bone health. Next.
I did want to add two things before we
Sure.
go to the next slide. So one, many of you on the call may realize we did add liposomal vitamin C to our product, hence why we've done that. So when we research the science and learn more and more of how things are synergistic and are better together. So, you know, we now carry, not under Regenrus's name, but our manufacturer, that same clean ingredients has vitamin C. So through regenerus.com, you are able to buy a liposomal vitamin C. So you can only imagine how great that is. And the best great news that many of you don't know yet is I'm also finalizing a multivitamin that has an amazing supplement fact panel that's liposomal as well through our manufacturer that we'll be adding hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months. So this study that you just said, Dee, it just brings that all together. It's the vitamins and minerals, the vitamin C and Regen. So, you know, all liposomally delivered for the body. So that's exciting.
It is exciting. All right. All right, so what do you want to look for when you're selecting a CBD oil? You want to, this is like a summary here. We want to make sure that it's USA grown hemp, that it's organically grown, that it's independently tested, undiluted, full spectrum. The extraction method does not have solvents. The absorption is enhanced and it's from a reputable firm. Guess what? Regenrus meets all of those qualifications. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Renew, which is one of our newer products. But Renew is sourced from turmeric, which has a high curcumin content in it. And curcumin has many benefits, but it's best known as an anti-inflammatory and an antioxidant. So turmeric has been shown to slow bone loss by inhibiting osteoclast activity. Remember, we talked about those osteoclasts getting out of balance where there's more of them producing. This helps slow that down so not as many of them are maturing. So it's helping to bring homeostasis to the whole bone remodeling process. That study was done in 2017 and another one confirmed it in 2020. So that 2020 is really recent. More and more research is coming out. It's just really great to see. And the next ingredient is the resveratrol. So in combination with curcumin, it has this synergistic effect, making it even more effective at reducing chronic inflammation and autoimmune damage. So remember we talked about how inflammation affects bones and how it makes them more susceptible to fracture. Autoimmune damage, that's things like your thyroid getting attacked, you know, from your own immune system. So resveratrol both inhibits osteoclast activity, like the turmeric or the curcumin does, but it also stimulates the osteoblast. So it's doing both. And this was a study done in 2020, showed that after 12 months of supplementation with a low dose of resveratrol, they found positive effects compared to the with placebo. In other words, more than the placebo. Increase in bone density in the lumbar spine and the neck of the femur. And there was a relative reduction of 7.2% in the bone resorption marker called CTX. I got so excited when I read this because CTX stands for C-terminal cross-linked cell peptide. So what happens when bone is being resorbed into the body, or you're losing bone? This increases. So they have to, this is the best test. You can also look at it in urine as well, but that fluctuates a whole lot more. This CTX is a blood test, and so it's more accurate. And they have to do an initial one to get a baseline. And then in this study, they would have done more along the way to see whether that was increasing or decreasing. Well, it decreased by 7.2%. So it's like showing that the bone is not being lost, okay? So study participants who supplemented with vitamin D had an even greater increase in the lumbar spine. I've done a whole presentation on that, and you can link to it on this YouTube link here. And we're going to do that with Brian on the Center for Functional Nutrition. We're going to do it. Is it in April, I think, Brian, that we're going to do that?
That's right, Dee. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can't
So
wait.
we're going to do that in April, and you can see that there if you'll link into that and find out more about the benefits of vitamin D as well with your bones. So this was really exciting news to me. I just loved finding this out. Next one. Okay, so if you want to place an order with me through Regenrus, that's my link. And how to do that, you can always come back to this. So that's my affiliate link. I'm a peer educator with American Bone Health, and I'm in the process of certifying as a micronutrient specialist with Calton Nutrition. And so I'm available to speak at any women's group, senior citizens group, church group, club, organization, educational presentation, anything you want me to speak at, I will be there. So, and this is how to contact me here. That the information is available as well.
Well, thank you so much, Dee. That was really just a very special experience. Certainly an exceptionally educational one. And what I really loved was that it was so layered. You know, you built this foundation, and I found that in the last third, it was really hitting its stride. Like, you were saying things and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense because of what you had educated us on prior.
Right.
And I just loved how you layered the education in so that, you know, by the end, I felt like I could actually participate in knowledge and understanding of what we were talking about. So just, I want to just graciously acknowledge you for just being a part of this education process. And I'd love to open it up if anyone has any questions or comments for Dee. Please just start, you know, waving your hand, or I'm not sure if that's a wave from Brenda.
Sure, I'll go ahead and kick it off real quick. Dee, I think you and I talked a little bit about it. Jim he's always had high levels in his blood tests of that alkaline phosphatase. Is that what?
Right.
Okay, and that is, and on the slide you said it's something about it's overactive in which one?
Okay, so if that's showing up, then we know the bone is building. Bone is growing.
Because they were saying that, what did they?
It's a byproduct of the osteoblast production.
Okay, so maybe it was either high or low. Maybe, was it high?
Yeah, mine's always been high.
It's always, so that would have been a good thing, but now they're saying what
But
was
they determined it was bones was causing it, because I guess there's two different options. And then they thought it might be the big C.
No, but what did it end up being? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
I don't know. Have to.
It's still high.
Yeah. So that would have been a good thing then. If it's showing high, it means the bones are repairing. So it should be a positive thing.
But then why is the doctor always?
Yeah, I know. They always seem to be concerned about it. Every blood test, I tell them.
Maybe it was too much.
Yeah. Maybe it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
thank you.
We'll just keep watching it then.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Brenda and Jim. Is there anyone else that has a question or a comment? Yes, Carolyn, you go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to just comment on the presentation, how great it is. I remember you touching on this back probably 2018, maybe 19, and just, you know, the knowledge about how these products really do affect the bone health is tremendous. And you've added even more to your research, which is incredible. So thank you so much for
coming out all the time.
I know.
Really is.
Yeah. So wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing it with us all.
Sure was.
Yeah, thank you, Carolyn. I think that was it's a great point that you make, Carolyn, because as Dee mentioned, I mean, we're really at the cutting edge.
We certainly are.
What's exciting about Regenrus, and just to tip our hats to Cindy to be ahead of her time, she's created products that are ahead of their time. I mean, the science is only going to continue to validate that what you're getting in these products are not only real, but truly profound for the body's ability to heal itself. So thank you, Carolyn, for bringing that up.
Carol, those of you who are practitioners can feel very confident about recommending these products.
Yes, thank you, Dee. That's a great one. Carol Montgomery, sorry, go ahead.
No problem. Dee, I absolutely love the way you do your research. I'm completely incapable of doing that kind of stuff, so it's really nice having somebody on the team who does. You gave us a couple of, I believe it was the hemp oil, but it was something to do with the hemp. You gave us a couple of the powder was an absorbed at 6 to 15%. Then you gave us the next one, and then we know all the extra stuff that Regen has. But do we have an absorption number for that?
You know, Cindy, can you address that better than I can? All I know is that it's almost equivalent to intravenous, which would be 100% absorption.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that with the science of liposomal and sublingual and getting into the blood and crossing over to the blood-brain barrier is quite significant with this product, the way it's designed and how we utilize it for efficacy. So when we talked to Kelly, our manufacturer, who brought the liposomal technology to us, he was saying anywhere between 6 to 10 times any other thing that else is on the market. So it was more comparable to Dee's point of more of like you were sitting, you know, how you do vitamin C infusions and things like that, this was a more effective way, or as effective, they felt, way to get this. I know I've done the vitamin C infusions and things like that, and it cost me just for one time $100 and some odd just for that one drip.
No, I always like to avoid the digestive system as much as possible, because you lose so much in that process. And if there's any kind of digestive issue, you're losing even more absorption. And as we age, all of us have less absorption rate. So anytime we can bypass that and get something directly into the bloodstream, which this as a sublingual it does, that's always a benefit in terms of absorption.
Yes, thank you everyone for participating, for your brilliant questions, and for just taking the time out of your day. You know, it's really, there's a huge appreciation for you all that you spent your time with us this evening live. We don't take that lightly, and we hope that you found some value here this evening. I know I did. Dee's just an exceptional educator, and I know that my brain will be buzzing as I fall asleep tonight. So for those of you that are watching the recording, again, our gratitude is with you. Please reach out, connect with us, ask questions. We really are on this mission together, and we enjoy collaboration. We cannot do this alone. This is much bigger than any singular person. This is about gathering great people together and learning and growing together so that we can impact lives at a great capacity. So Dee, again, our gratitude. Thank you so much.